places that I've never been, seeing things that I may never see again. I can't wait to get on the road again.
Hello, I'm Susan Regan, on the road again with Connecticut Valley Views, where today we visit the Hill-Stead Museum in Farmington, Connecticut. I'm here with the Executive Director and CEO, Sue Sturdivant. I'd love to talk with you about this beautiful estate in Theodate of Riddle.
Thank you and welcome to Hill-Stead. I want everyone to know that this place is open to everyone. We have opened the doors wide as they can be. Theodate Pope was a young woman from Cleveland who attended Miss Porter's school, and she fell in love with a farming town, Farmington, and told her parents she would like to build a country estate, a farmstead, and this home for them when they're ready to leave Cleveland.
How many acres here, Sue?
152.
152 acres.
And she purchased 10 different colonial farms.
Mm-hmm.
She came here in order to establish her legacy as an architect. As a young woman, she had no training in architecture, no license, and she was 29 years old when she had this idea that she would create 10 buildings on this property. And
so was she accredited actually by a school, or was it just by her actual experience?
Not until much later did she take courses
get recognized.
And she was finally the 6th female architect in Connecticut. But she built this with McKim, Mead & White's help, because she said, I have the money and the ideas, and you have the license. So
and what
let's
year
work
was
together.
that, Sue? What year?
This was in 1897. She had the idea, the vision, and she hired a young local builder, Richard Jones, and said, if you build me this big gambrel-roofed red barn, and it's to my liking,
yes,
then you may build the rest of the estate. Her ideas, very novel, very innovative. She wanted to give a thank you to the people of Farmington, so she, for 10 years, showed free movies on Saturdays to anyone who wanted to come.
An incredible lady. Now, 29, you said, when she started. And she wasn't married at the time.
No. She
only child?
Was an only child of Alfred Pope, and he encouraged her. He knew she was headstrong, she was bright, she had her own vision of what she wanted, and she really wanted to be a farmer. So she had a dairy farm here once this place was built. She did it according to the scientific method. So she kept hay separate from cows. She kept silos separate from other buildings. She was very proactive and ahead of the curve. So she really thought it through and did things in a new way. The house that she built, called Hill-Stead, and it was a name she made up, homestead on a hill, was really to be a place of hospitality. So we have people visiting from all over the world. She invited Henry James, authors Edith Wharton, Sinclair Lewis, Archibald MacLeish, Edna St. Vincent Millay. You can imagine all of these people gathering here. Mary Cassatt came from Paris, and very good friends.
But you know what's a nice point about her, though? She has movies that are going for the people who are in the community around her, and yet she invites those worldly and sophisticated people. So she covered a broad gambit.
She was a woman who enjoyed people and really cared about education. She even raised 3 foster boys. Can you imagine?
Incredible.
And when she thought about, one died at an early age, but when the other 2 came here, she wanted a good schooling for them. So she took on the idea of building Avon Old Farm School. Not only did she build it according to the Cotswold design, but she hired the headmaster, all the teachers, wrote the curriculum. She was a very worldly, wonderful person.
Very, very active in the community,
yes,
but a person who was very open to new ideas, and most of those new ideas came from herself.
I think so.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
And she was very disciplined. You know, it's interesting about the words imagination and creativity.
Yes.
we can all imagine doing things, but in order to create, that's a verb. And she created this place. She took her imagination, her vision, and made something happen. And it was her determination and her discipline.
That really developed the entire place, and in a kind of an order, as you said.
I think
So
so.
that things actually, this place developed on an as-needed base. She didn't rush anything, and she did everything right. But she didn't care if she took a little risk here and there in trying something else.
That's right.
Now we have some special features here. I know you have the sunken garden.
This sunken garden is surrounded by a very high basalt fence of rock, and it's an unusual construction. Many polygons make up this beautiful, in some places 10-foot tall wall, and the sunken garden is almost like being in an embrace. It's a beautiful setting that was designed, the floral design was done by Beatrix Farrand, and Beatrix was the niece of Edith Wharton. She designed the gardens at the Mount, she designed Dunbarton Oaks in Washington or Georgetown, and gardens in Bar Harbor, Maine. So we're lucky that of the few remaining Farrand gardens,
Yes.
ours is here.
Here's one of them.
And we might want to walk up and look over it.
Okay, very good. We're going to take a walk. Now, Sue, you were talking about the basalt walls. They've got their arms around us here, and they're about, you said, 10 feet tall, right?
In some places they are, and the stones were gathered here on the property. Theodate Pope used Italian stonemasons because they were the best in the world.
And we have a prolific amount of
And
stone
we
in
do.
Connecticut.
And they made good use of them, don't you think?
Absolutely.
So
And they're not put together with mortar or anything?
no, they're just
placed.
dry laid, and they're beautifully arranged. Now this is also the setting of our Sunken Garden Poetry Festival. Every other Wednesday in the summer we have an hour of music, people bring picnics, children roll around on the grassy...
That's in the evening?
In the evening after work, or, you know, it starts around 6:30, and then we have music and then an hour of poetry. Some of the best poets in the world have spoken here, given readings. We've used U.S. poet laureates, state poet laureates. We're so blessed that these people have discovered the Sunken Garden Poetry Festival.
Yes.
It's their favorite. And it's been going on for years and years, and hope
And
that
another
it
way
always
to
will.
continue her thought process was to share with the community.
Correct.
Which you want to make sure, we want our viewers to know that there are so many things going on here, and we're going to be talking about them, but this is a most exciting place, most exciting. Well, I'd like to talk a little bit about the architecture of the house.
Let's look at this beautiful home.
We're now here in the area that's called the portico.
Correct.
Yeah.
This whole area was added on 4 years after Theodate designed the home for her parents. She had visited Mount Vernon, and she loved colonial values. So, hardworking, trustworthiness, diligence. And she wanted this home to reflect a colonial revival with a twist. But she thought what it needed was a portico. And so after visiting Mount Vernon, she came back and added a second study and pushed the home out further toward the west, looking at the Litchfield Hills. It's such a beautiful
It's an incredible view from where we're standing, just beautiful.
And here you see the notable trees on our property. We have a beautiful horse chestnut. This is one of 3 elm trees that's left. She planted 44 of them, but then when Dutch elm disease came through,
Sure, destroyed them.
but look at the shape and size of that magnificent tree.
Just incredible.
And so it is really a tree that is immune to disease, and it has lasted probably 200 years, because she wasn't going to put seedlings into her home, near her home. She had established trees, full-grown trees.
So she had them brought in so that
and-
everything was finished when it was done. It was
That's
done.
right. It was ready to go, ready to move in. And so we have photographs in our archives of men with carriages and winches and ropes and horses and a whole team putting in a
place.
huge tree. So it looks...
Well, she wanted her vision to come together all at
She
once,
did.
not have to wait for it,
That's right.
and be able to have people here so that they could see it as she had envisioned it.
Yes.
I think that's the important part of it. Now, this is all the original stonework. I take it everything is here is original.
She used bluestone a lot throughout the property. This would have been the formal entrance for formal guests, such as Theodore Roosevelt, President Roosevelt. Franklin Delano Roosevelt was a hero to her. All these people came in their carriages, cars drawn in, up the greensward to this formal opening. And you'll notice that the door is very wide, and when we go in, you'll see the architecture includes enormous arches, just large, welcoming arches.
Well, and there's another point that I'd like to make with regard to homes that we have today. They build very large pieces of furniture, and they don't have doorways that can accommodate it. We're always taking things off the side to get things in. She planned ahead with big wide doors.
She did plan ahead and thick doors.
Yes.
So that the house is cool, it's calm, it's a place for socializing. Oh, the stories that we've heard of what went on. They had dinner parties for up to 50 people, rolled up the rugs, had an orchestra in the corner. It must have been quite the setting.
Well, although she wasn't married, though, she was a socialite in her own right. I think her mother, probably might have liked to have had her being married, but she really was out there in society.
She was. And she had an unfortunate accident when she was going to London on the Lusitania, and it was torpedoed, and she was left for dead. And when she was pulled out, because there was a flutter of an eyelash, a nurse had recognized that as a sign of life. They resuscitated her, and as she came back to life and thought about next chapters, she did get married. She married at age 49 to an ambassador, John Riddle. He was 51, had never been married, and he had been assigned to posts in Tsarist Russia, and he was off to Argentina, and she said, John, I'll give you 6 months for every year. The other 6 months are mine, because by then she had her architecture.
She was writing her own prenup.
Yeah. So she had a career, a single life, and a married life.
She had it all very organized. And I think the big thing here for our viewers to know is that because she was so well organized, she left this here, and it's in good hands today, in yours and your staff's hands. And we're going to see some of those exciting things as we move further into the house.
On the road again, going places that I've never been, seeing things that
We would like to thank Sue Sturdivant for our tour today in sharing Hill-Stead Part 1, The Legacy, with Connecticut Valley Views. We invite you to see all of our programs on our website, www.ctvalleyviews.com. Our thanks to Windsor Federal Savings for making this program possible. Neighbors helping neighbors since 1936.